All right, welcome everyone to week one of the Green Foods Bible Study class. We're going to be studying this incredible piece of work. This is a masterful, inspiring, science-based book on the power of green foods, written by the founder of Purium, David Sandoval. And so I encourage people to read the first two chapters before coming on to today's call. If you didn't, no problem, because guess what? You're going to find out what they said. And I have a wonderful friend and business partner who is going to be part of facilitating all 4 weeks with me, and that is Elizabeth. Elizabeth, say hello.
Hi, everybody.
You guys will soon come to see that Elizabeth is she's a science nerd. She does have a background in health education, and so we're really grateful to have her. And then Christopher, if you want to wave your hand for everyone to see it, Christopher is going to be coming every week with a Purium story for us. So we actually have kind of a fun little PowerPoint that we want to share with all of you. And we really are pleased that we're coming together to grow, to learn, because some of you are sharing Purium as a business, and some of you are not, but you're really interested in being healthy and helping other people get healthy. So we encourage everyone to be a part of us, everyone to be a part of us. Okay, so can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see the slideshow.
Okay, fantastic. Let's dive into it, because I like to think of Purium as the new healthy fast food. And it truly, truly is a convenient way for us to get these life-saving greens into our body, and they are life-saving greens. And we have so many different products. As we move through the 4 weeks, we will focus a little bit on these different products. But week one, the week that we're at right now, is really just more of an overview of the benefits of green foods in general. So we're going to cover today the foreword and the introduction, and then chapter 1 and 2. So some of the specifics will be healing programs and the Purium solution. A lot of conversation on chlorophyll because, wow, chlorophyll is the cure. Not actually allowed to say that word. Chlorophyll is magic in the body. And as you remember in reading the book, David Sandoval talks about the current state of dis-ease, and we really want to remind us all that we can support people in getting their body functions up to speed so that they are preventing dis-ease. We're going to talk about the difference between vitamin supplements and whole plants, why it's important to have a low-calorie, nutrient-dense diet for longevity, as well as just basically body, mind, body. In other words, heal your body, clears up your mind. Clear your mind, heal your body. So let's talk first about something really important for all of us to remember. We are not doctors. In fact, David Sandoval gave a wonderful live conference call on that topic quite some time ago, and Elizabeth transcribed it. So we have a document at choosepurehealth.com under resources that really discusses this mindset. We as Purium members who promote Purium, we are not doctors, but we are here to support people in living a healthy, optimum wellness lifestyle. So you might want to take a look at that resource at Choose Pure Health. It's also, the audio is available at your Purium website in the back office. It is archived. But I want to remind us what we can say. We are not doctors, so we cannot talk about dis-ease. We cannot say that this product will cure this disease, but we can say that the ingredients found in PowerShake has been found to support the body in blood sugar balance, for example. We can share stories and testimonials. We can ask people who we're working with to connect with a doctor and bring an advocate. And we can encourage other members and people we're introducing to Purium to do their own research. We really are health educators. We are not doctors. I mean, some of you might be, And if you are, you know exactly what you can and cannot say. And you've probably chosen Purium, like many doctors, for a good reason. But for most of us, we're educators. And the good news is the more we're educated, the more we can educate others, the more we read, the more we can share. And everyone who becomes a member of Purium, they get the Green Foods Bible. So they have the opportunity to educate themselves. So some compliant language suggestions would be to use words like relieves. So if someone has, we're not saying cure, we're saying relieves head and neck tension or supports joint function. And we can use words like for occasional stomach upsets, ear discomfort, or words like help, helps with focus, treats, mild acne. So these are some examples, and we wanted to just take a moment while we're all empowered and feel like, in some cases, I think we're on a crusade to get people healthy. We want to be really careful for our own sake and the sake of the company that we speak within these compliant DSHEA terminologies. Now, let's take a little moment and focus on the foreword. And Elizabeth, thanks for doing so much extra research to share with us what you got out of reading this section.
Yeah, the foreword to me is one of the most important parts of the Green Food Bible. And if you are talking with medical professionals or health professionals or people who just want more of a scientific validation, have them read the foreword of the Green Foods Bible. So I just want to introduce the man who wrote the Green Foods Bible. His name is Dr. Keith I. Block, MD. And I'll just read to you some of his credentials. Dr. Keith Block is a medical and scientific director of the Block Center for Integrative Cancer Treatment and the Institute for Integrative Cancer Research and Education. This was founded over 30 years ago. The Block Center is one of the world's leading cancer treatment facilities. He's the director and the integrative medical education for the University of Illinois College of Medicine. He's also the editor-in-chief of the Integrative Cancer Therapies, Sage Science Press, Integrative Cancer Therapies, which is a peer-reviewed quarterly journal focused on a comprehensive model of integrative cancer treatment. He's the member for the editorial board for the Physicians Data Query, Cancer Complementary and Alternative Medicine, and the National Cancer Institute. So this man is heavily credentialed. And any doctor who is publishing new scientific papers or journals, it needs to cross Dr. Keith Block's desk first, as he is the editor-in-chief of major scientific journals across the world. So I'm just going to read a couple things that he talks about in the foreword. So we have, quoting Dr. Keith Block, without sufficient green vegetables, optimum health can be elusive. The need for superfoods and nutritional supplementation has never been greater than it is today. Our food is simply does not have the same nutritional value as it once did. It has thus become far more practical to make up for our nutritional deficits by supplementing with concentrated and convenient sources of plant-derived food. So he has long considered nutrition as a key component in both the prevention and treatment of diseases, and has found that green foods play a significant role. So after 32 plus years, this man has created 32 years of personalized programs for cancer patients. And by correcting various biochemical processes such as inflammation and oxidative stress, which we're going to get into shortly, at the center of these interventions is the use of green foods. So with an optimal diet at core, he points out it's a plant-based diet, and he advises a whole food concentrate. Yes, a soup drink. And this is on the second and third pages of the foreword. So he also points out that patients with cancer are not the only ones who we
So I am not sure if that came out. Oh, there you go.
Greens and green drinks and vegetable concentrates benefit us all. So we are each at risk for losing our health to the onslaught of free radicals, pro-inflammatory chemicals, and from exposures like pollutants and junk food. So by making these high levels of vegetable intake one of your key nutritional strategies, you can help protect yourself from these dangers and gain longevity at the same time. So in the end, he just points out, by focusing on green, David Sandoval has hit nutritional gold. And if that isn't a valid enough forward, I don't know what is.
I so appreciate what you just said right there. And I think that's one of the greatest benefits. It's just to be able to refer people to, hey, David Sandoval is not some renegade. He's proven, and there are a lot of people who are doing a lot of science about the power of greens. And of course, we want radiant, healthy bodies. We want to share Purium. I just wanted to make a quick little mention, you know, we don't have to know all of this to be Purium distributors at all. But because we have our website, we have our marketing materials. But for those of you who love education, you're here today, kudos, congrats for investing in your education. It can make it easier to do a booth, to share, but it's okay not to know everything. It's okay to refer to our marketing materials. And people who are really savvy, who look at Purium, they'll look at the label and they'll just get it. So one thing I like to do at booths is I like to have the Green Foods Bible Study with me. I think it's really powerful to actually have that book with us so we can refer to it and let people see, for example, who wrote the foreword. So the introductions, let's just take a quick moment on the introduction. This is another file PDF that Elizabeth created for us, and it's at the Resource Center of Choose Pure Health. But some of the kind of highlights of who David Sandoval is and some things that he mentions in his introductions. And, you know, I just think it's important for us to remember that he devoted nearly 2 decades to discovering foods that heal and making them available in their purest, non-crossbred, wildcrafted forms. They're all designed by nature. So, you know, this is pretty powerful too. The thousands of lives that I've been able to improve and the renewed hope that people feel is the fruit of those efforts. Lots of powerful things in the introduction, just laying the case that whole food supplements pack all the punch of the fresh, green, living plants themselves. So why are plants so powerful? Why is it important to put green foods in our diet? What is the phytochemistry and the wisdom that we receive when we drink these green products? And I'll let you start, Elizabeth.
Well, yeah, when I was at the PHP, I know Vanessa knows this and Christopher, David Sandoval really hits home with what is phytochemistry. Well, phyto is the Greek word for plant, and then phyco is the plant of the sea. So it's phyto and phycochemistry. And if you look at plants evolving over millions, sometimes billions of years, they create an immunity. Using coconuts for an example, they evolved in a very hot climate. Not only was it hot, but it was also moist. So when you have heat and moisture, you're going to have viruses, mold, fungus, those kind of things proliferate. When you look at the chemical constituents of coconut oil, it's actually linoleic acid is actually antiviral, antifungal, anti-yeast, and anti-mold. So when we take those foods in our body, we're actually getting that that immunity that the plant has used sometimes billions of years to cultivate. What else, Joy?
Well, I think you said it really, really well. And so by ingesting these plants, we are getting the chemical constituents. And so many pharmaceutical companies or drugs, they're just taking little isolated constituents, some of the chemicals, and patenting them. We don't do that when we do whole plants. We know that there's wisdom in the plant. We know that often the side effects of drugs are because we're getting an isolated small chemical constituent instead of the whole picture. Plant wisdom is really what enables us to get positive benefit from food without those negative side effects. So I want to go further. And so we talked about drugs, we talked about pharmaceuticals. I want to talk about nutraceuticals, which are really synthetic nutrition and vitamins. A lot of people might go to a drugstore, or their doctor might recommend, or people go online and they buy vitamins and minerals. And what they're buying is synthetic, chemically produced nutrition. I mean, look at this image here. This is the difference between Purium and going and buying especially low quality, synthetic, isolated nutrition. We love this possibility, and David outlines it in the book as well, of getting the whole plant phytochemistry. So this is whole plant nutrition, phytonutrition, not nutraceuticals. Very, very different. Chapter 1, just so we can keep moving, if you're in the new version of the Green Foods Bible, I'm going to jump us over to page 4. This chapter is really, really cool because it's not just about surviving as a species, it's about thriving. And I think it's important that we all recognize, as we live on this planet in peril, in crises, and there's also obesity crises, there's so many signals telling us that we need to take care of our bodies, and we need to take care of Gaia, the body of this planet. And the interesting link between the microcosm of each person's health and the incredible global health of the planet is really outlined here, as David talks about how when we eat whole plant, organic, wild-crafted foods, we are working in harmony with nature. We're not creating chemicals. We're not creating pollutants. And we know, many of us know, how important it is to advocate for GMO-free food on the planet, which is a big part of what Purium offers us. We also know that with Purium, we're doing now eco-packaging, which will be shared at the the LEAP conference this year, and that the distribution modality with Purium and the gentle dehydration and shipping allows us not to use refrigeration, not to have heavy weights, have fewer trucks, and go direct to the consumer. So this link between what we're doing for our own bodies and what we're doing for the planet is amazing. I mean, there are so many studies now, people who are taking pharmaceuticals and drugs and chemical constituents. We know that this earth is connected. So as we urinate, there's still toxicity in people's body that eventually will get into our stream water, and it affects animals on the planet. And of course, the big agribusiness is doing the same. So this is outlined a little bit in this first chapter. And I also do truly believe that the whole malnutrition issue, as David outlines, could be solved through concentrated nutrition. But this story of our link with the planet goes back many, 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 many years. And Elizabeth, maybe you can just kind of put this in layman's terms for us.
Sure, yeah. Well, it doesn't take us much to look outside the window and see we are really interconnected with plants. We need oxygen, they need our carbon dioxide. It's a beautiful symbiosis that's actually been occurring for about 4 billion years. The oldest life form is called cyanobacteria. And to sum it up in Dave Sandoval's words from the book, without these first green cyanobacteria, we would not exist, and neither would plants. These microscopic cyanobacteria are the foundation of both plant and animal evolution. So our symbiotic relationship really goes back very far to the dawn of time with this chlorophyll. And this cyanobacteria is also known as the blue-green algae that we consume in our power shake, spirulina, Craxella chlorella. And these talk about phytochemistry, 4 billion years of a basically a plant that hasn't needed to evolve because it was so perfect from the beginning. And we get to consume that. And we'll talk more about that, right, Joy, about chlorophyll soon.
Chlorophyll's on its way, but first, a little plug for Ann Wigmore, who's one of the mentors and teachers of David Sandoval, and he also talks quite a bit about her here early on in the book. She was a mentor and teacher to him. Lucky David. I mean, she's a mentor and teacher to me, but I never got to meet her. She is the world's foremost advocate for raw food nutrition. And she grew up in Lithuania. I love her story, and we're going to post her biography on Choose Pure Health under resources if you want to learn even more than what was offered in the Green Foods Bible. But it's just really fascinating that there's a lineage that we're a part of, because Anne's grandmother was the medicine woman, if you will, of Lithuania. People would come to her with issues, diseases, or chronic health problems, challenges, and she would go to the garden. And if it was herbs or chlorophyll or poultices, her grandma always had a way to help people. And Anne had her own health challenge. She went back to the garden. She moved to the US, had her health challenge, and she really studied and implemented this wisdom. And David was lucky enough to grow and learn from her. She was like a springboard that helped him launch into this arena that now is a trend. But 10, 20, 30 years ago, it was pioneering something brand new. One of her many quotes: "The food you eat can be either the safest and most powerful form of medicine or the slowest form of poison. You choose." And that's a great thing to remind our friends and our family, because what we eat, we assimilate and we become. So let food be thy medicine, as Hippocrates also said. A lot of people are on the quest for healing, and the price of health is extremely high. People who are taking alternative routes are going to often spend like $1,000 for a 3-week cleansing program, where with Purium, we're able to offer people for very little money, $200, $250, a 10-day transformation with support. And as you're talking with people about the power of the green foods, the potency of the green foods and cleansing, while I absolutely advocate some of these places like Optimum Health and Hippocrates, I think a really beautiful way to start or maintain is with these Purium products. This is a do-it-yourself, do it at home, but you have companionship, you have our community, you have your sponsor and enroller to support you through these programs. So it's such an awesome opportunity. Pages 22, 23, a couple highlights. Patients' testimonials show that raw, green, plant-based diets as a crucial part of their healing from various cancers, or at least to extend their lives and to feel well while fighting the good fight against cancer. All of this is documented. There's so much science behind what we're sharing with people. Another great quote: "Many of the diseases for which modern medicine has no cure, are a result of lifelong diet made mostly of processed, sugary, fatty foods. Poison. An intensive plant-based diet is the fastest and most effective way to rejuvenate the body at a cellular level and give it the raw materials it requires to rebuild itself and function more efficiently." That's a keeper. That's a keeper, because it is the fastest and most effective way, because this is what most people are eating. This is what's happening to our food. And if you eat out at restaurants, be careful of those salads if they're not organic. I mean, if you knew this was, if you sat down with your kids or family with a plate of lettuce and sprayed it with pesticides, herbicides, would they eat it? Absolutely. So we want to talk about greens, and we want to talk about superfoods. Not just clean organic foods, but superfoods. and the power of our chlorophyll. So raw and processed organic plant-based food should be a staple of everyone's diet. Now, 100% raw, all vegan approach doesn't work for everyone. David said, in my work, I've tried to formulate programs that can boost the nutritional density, the antioxidant capacity, and the enzyme content. This nutritional density is key. Low calorie, lots of nutrition, the key to longevity. Purium is absolutely committed to potency and purity. You're not going to find anything artificial or binders or fillers like you would in a lot of the synthetic and even just health food out there these days. But what you are going to get is farm fresh, superfood-based, plant-based, ancient wisdom-based, backed by modern science greens. This is on your Purium website, by the way. I just threw the slide in there. It's not in the Green Foods Bible, but I think it's important that we know that we're working with a company that has high values, and all the employees of Purium, this is what they see every day in the manufacturing facility, you know, and how awesome, because I believe that what we eat, it is nutritive, but it's also a transmission of some kind of biofrequency or bioenergetic that, yes, happens in the growing process, but also happens in the manufacturing process. And so to be aware that the people that are working for Purium, they see this every day. It's a beautiful culture. So we know that we're getting some good vibes, some good energy from the home team as well. Green foods, full of live enzymes, full of trace minerals, alkalinity, and help us detoxify. We want live enzymes. Any food at 105 or lower, roughly, is going to have live enzymes. Enzymes are the catalyst of tons of body functions. We only are given so many enzymes when we're born. So as we age, we have fewer and fewer, and many of us need to supplement our diet with enzymes, and I'm grateful Purium has the enzyme advantage. But enzymes are in raw food, and enzymes will help us digest and assimilate our food. And there are many enzymes based on the different digestive processes. If you're getting fat-based enzymes or plant-based or protein-based. But what's beautiful about nature is the enzymes in the raw food are going to support us in digesting that raw food. Trace minerals, in agricultural products, in cultivated or even organic products, we're not necessarily getting the trace minerals. We're getting just kind of the standard 3. There's a lot of minerals, and we want to uptake those unique and individual micronutrition trace minerals, and superfoods have such a variety and array of trace minerals, more than what you would find in kind of a traditional go to the health food store, buy some agriculturally grown lettuce. And we need that in our body. In fact, so many dis-ease, discomforts can be linked back to not getting those minerals. Alkalinity, Elizabeth.
Yeah, I think we can go to the next slide on that, Joy. So it really starts with looking basically at plant blood, which is chlorophyll, and human blood, which is hemoglobin. The chemical compounds are almost identical, except for the centerpiece, which is magnesium in the chlorophyll and iron in the human blood. What happens when we're ingesting these concentrated green drinks all day, and, you know, Best of Greens and Power Shake and Kamut, is we're getting high amounts of chlorophyll. And what that does is it increases the quality and the quantity of our red blood cells. Now, why do we want to improve the quality and quantity of our red blood cells? Well, those little guys are responsible for 97% of all of our oxygen carried to all of the body processes in our entire body. Every single body process needs oxygen. So when we're getting all of this chlorophyll, we're getting lots of oxygen. So when we have lots of oxygen, we're going to have increased cell production, promoting healthy aging. It's going to purify the blood. It's going to neutralize acidic waste, and every single cell needs oxygen. We're going to be functioning at peak performance when we have oxygen-rich blood. When we don't have oxygen-rich blood, we're going to suffer from what's called oxidative stress. And that's about 50% or more Americans are suffering from that. The medical implications of oxidative stress are going to look like anywhere from diminished concentration to slower recovery times, digestive issues, all the way to cancer, heart disease, and diabetes. So it's really important to have that oxygen. I think on the next slide, Joy, we can also talk, so it does say there it helps to oxygenate the blood. It's the blood of the plants. And then maybe on the next slide, the other thing is we have in the center of that chlorophyll, plant blood, is magnesium. Like Joy was saying with trace minerals, chlorophyll is rich in trace minerals, but also in magnesium. And what magnesium does is it alkalizes the blood system. Our blood, our human blood, is slightly alkaline at 7.36. And any lower than that, and we're looking at some serious health implications. So basically, having that high oxygen and that nice alkaline-rich blood, things like pathogens, bacteria, yeast, virus, mold can't survive. They have no chance in that kind of body system. When we're acidic and low oxygen, oh boy, all those nasty pathogens can take hold and wreak havoc on our cells and our organs and our body processes. So on the next slide, let's see what we have. And, you know, the stuff that chlorophyll is amazing. It turns sunlight into energy. After decades, scientists still don't know the whole process because it's taking inorganic matter and turning it into organic matter. So it's pretty amazing stuff. If you feel like you want to add anything to that slide, Joy, or we could go on to the next one.
Well, I'll cover this one because, you know, so often we hear people say, oh my gosh, I feel so much lighter. Or Purium's like drinking liquid light energy. And why do people say that? And why do we feel that? I know I feel it. I just had my Kamut before the call and I just felt fresh. I felt refreshed and I felt light. It's because what you were just saying, Elizabeth, the sunlight feeds the plants. And that produces the chlorophyll, which is their blood. And then we drink the greens, which is really this light. It's the sunlight coming into our bodies, literally. So this is the path to enlightenment for anyone who's interested.
Yes, that is true. Yep.
Yeah, and I think this is important too, just this quote that chlorophyll does help the body detoxify. You did such a great job outlining the pH and how disease thrives in, you know, our acidic body and how we can be healthy and our immune system's better alkalized. But also chlorophyll helps our body detoxify, so it inhibits the absorption of environmental pollutants. And there's so many, not just in our food, but just there's electromagnetic pollutants, there's gasoline, there's plastics, there's perfumes. We smell things, we ingest things, we touch things. All of us really, I mean, it's really hard these days to avoid it. People might be wearing perfume and we're in the same room with them. Or God forbid, you know, we're smelling someone's cigarette smoke and ingesting it. So we have to keep detoxifying the body. We have to keep letting go of those toxins before they accumulate. We'll just run through these really quick. Benefits of chlorophyll, which is about 70% of wheatgrass. Wheatgrass is the same as barley grass, is the same as Kamut grass. We'll get into that next week. It prevents cancer, detoxifies the liver, improves energy, increases immunity. It has anti-aging benefits, of course, and it aids in the treatment of ulcerative colitis, plus so many more diseases. 2 ounces of wheatgrass is equivalent to eating 4 pounds of green vegetables. So are we getting enough? There's a lot of research now that we need 7, 8, 9, 10 servings of vegetables a day. So eating 1 pound of spinach, organic spinach, is equal to drinking 3 ounces of wheatgrass. 1 cup of cooked spinach is the same as about 6 cups of raw. We are getting that when we do a power shake. We are getting that when we do the power of 10 or the scoop of greens. Oh my gosh. Do you want to say anything about this, Elizabeth?
When I was doing my research for the class and learning more, about the PHP and things like that, chlorophyll across the board is amazing. And in chapter 2, he just outlines each one of these, like how the chlorophyll works, the mechanism or the scientific papers behind it. There's so many. If you just Google effects of chlorophyll on health, you're going to find innumerable medical journals, scientific papers on chlorophyll. It's amazing. And in the back office at Choose Pure Health, we have 40 health benefits of chlorophyll, just the top 40. There's so many, but yeah, there's so many, Joy.
Okay, well, you are a specialist as your past career as a dental hygienist trained in that industry, and I know David talks about it on page 28, but anything else you want to say in terms of gum health and bad breath?
Sure, yeah. I was blessed enough to my career to start in Mount Shasta, which is a very health conscious community. My patients taught me in my 8 years. I saw my patients, I would be, of course, working really hard to make sure they were brushing and flossing and using perio aids, and if they had gum disease, using special tools. And even when they were doing that and being very religious, they were still presenting with gum disease. And some of my early patients showed me how they healed themselves, and that was with greens. They eliminated inflammatory foods out of their diet, sugars, dairies, not so much meats and things like that. And they flooded their bodies with organic greens and organic concentrated juices. And it was miraculous, because where they were trying so hard to succeed before, now they have that alkaline rich environment, that high oxygen level, and literally in some cases it was total I guess you could say recovery from gum disease. So it's just an important part. Our mouth is connected to our whole body.
So on page 25, David talks a little bit about acne and greens, and some of us know the story of how he met Amy Venner, and she had a lot of blemishes in her skin, and he was kind enough when she was a youngster to introduce her to Kamut, and that's how they met. And I love it when she tells the story, because she really encourages us all to reach out to people that might have skin irritations or any health issue, and be a savior for them. I'm going to open up the call for a second. And Christopher, do I see you somewhere?
Hey, Joy.
Okay, there you are. Great. Why don't you share a little story with us? We want to hear a great Purium story.
Well, you might have heard the story already, but if you haven't, it's a great story. There's a teenager, he's 15, his name's Oberon, and I've known his mother for about 25 years, and I remembered the story of David meeting Amy in the Kamut for acne. And Oberon is really a sweet guy, young man, and he had really bad acne. I mean, it was really embarrassing to look at his skin. I mean, it was that bad. And, I remembered this story. This is when I first started with Purium, and I told his mother, I said, the company got started with David meeting Amy, and she had really bad adult acne. And I said, if you're up for it, let's get Oberon, a canister of Kamut. And I think what I said, I'll even subsidize it. You pay 40, I'll pay the rest. And so she said, okay, well, let's give it a shot. And Oberon was really excited about it, because he had taken pharmaceutical drugs. He had tried creams. He had tried everything, and nothing was working. And so we got him on the Komoot, and I interviewed him, and that audio is on Choose Pure Health. It's there if you want to listen to it. So he got on the product, and he drank it 3 times a day, and he just drank it with water. And he told me that within 3 days, he could feel the pain underneath his skin starting to leave. Now, he said his skin was always really painful from his acne. So after 3 days, he knew that this product was going to work. And after, I don't know the time limit, but in a short amount of time, 2-3 weeks, his face was starting to clear up. And when I saw him, I hadn't seen him for probably 2 or 3 months. And his mother was all excited. All of the people that knew him were excited because they knew how, bad his complexion was. And when I saw him, I couldn't believe what happened to his skin. I mean, it was unbelievable. It was like a miracle. And he, with that kind of problem, it affects, your self-esteem. It just really affects your life. And so, he was so grateful and happy. And I asked him to be on a call or Saturday call, and he was on there, and I interviewed him, and it was a 6-minute call. And if you haven't heard that, make sure you go to Choose Pure Health, and you can send that link to anybody. And what happened from that is that the people that knew him, they all wanted to get on the Komoot after that because they saw the miracle that happened to him. So it definitely created a miracle in his life. And Joy, I forgot to tell you, I never told you that 30 years ago, I was at Hippocrates in my late 20s. I was on staff. I stayed there for months in San Diego. And I cleaned up the wheatgrass juice machines every day. And so it was a trip, it's like circling around back to wheatgrass. And I used to, 30 years ago, I had a spirulina company. And I used to sell that, and I would go to these whole life expos, and I'd always see David Sandoval with his card table. And that's when he first came out with this Komoot. And I go, wow, this guy's really into his Komoot, and he's really intense because, in a good way. So, it's just really interesting how everything circles around, and it's really, that's what this business is about. It's about exposing what we have and seeing what happens. So if you know anybody with acne, definitely have them try this drink. And, I love the drink. And after reading the Green Foods Bible again, it just really inspired me to get into a real good habit, because I was drinking it every day and I was taking it to the gym. And then, then you start doing other things and you forget. So now I'm back on track, and my skin looks better than ever. And that's probably because of the wheatgrass and also the bio skincare. So we really have a treasure of gifts for people, and you really don't know which one's going to be the catalyst, but there's pretty much something there for everyone. They just have to find what that is for them. So,
well said, Christopher. There's something there for everyone, and really you can't go wrong. So just simply getting anyone into chlorophyll is going to alkalize the body. It's going to give them the enzymes. It's live. It's the trace minerals, the oxygenation, everything that we've been outlining. But the good news is, in the next 3 weeks, we're going to get even more specifically into, well, what's the difference between a cereal grass and an algae, land, and seed veggies. Christopher, thank you.
Yeah, it's nice to see everybody. What an incredible team. We're an educational, mission-driven company, and, profits are secondary. So it's really a great honor to be involved in the organization like we have.
Well, we look forward to you sharing more next week. And we're going to close out with a couple more comments. We want to make the shift from junk food to health food easy for people. No one has to do a 10-day transformation. No one has to do Komoot 3 times a day or even change their diet. But if people would be willing to drink 1 green drink or 2 green drinks every single day, chances are their cravings will change. And we know that. And I hope this was helpful for everyone. There are so many things in this in chapters 1 and 2 that we didn't even have a chance to talk about, like the intestines and the liver. Oh my gosh, the amazing benefits of chlorophyll in the colon. And that's another thing. In fact, I'm going to just highlight that for a second. You know, we've been talking a little bit about skin, which is a detoxification organ, right? So it's signifying that the body's not detoxifying. Well, breath is a detoxification organ, our lungs, our colon. So our skin and our colon. And so we know that just by drinking the Kamut 3 times a day, we've been able to help a lot of people who have major issues and challenges, from inflammatory issues to food sensitivities to constipation, diarrhea, etc. We've been able to help people with these chlorophyll-rich products. So once again, we're not doctors, but we do know that you can't go wrong. You've got a book full of great resources. We've got a great website. We have amazing products. And let's just spread the word that, you know, pick a green drink and try it. See what it does for you. Elizabeth, what would you like to share to close out our call this time?
Well, you know, like I said, one of my favorite parts is the foreword, but just because it lends so much credibility. So if you have any time at all, just read that foreword. It's a good thing to just have in your back pocket for when you need some more credibility to the research on greens.
Nice. Well, I'm excited for next week because we are going to talk a little bit more about cereal grasses and grains. So we know that we have some sprouted grain products. We know we have cereal grasses, and we're also going to hear some really great stories. So what I recommend is read chapter 3 and 4. Read chapter 3 and 4. Join us next week, and we'll continue on this journey of getting to know not just the Purion products, but getting to know the formulas and what makes them so unique. I'm going to stop the recording now, and I am going to open up the call for anyone who might have a question.